Well, kia ora and welcome back. Ron Ball here again. Hey, in this section this week, we're moving away from the idea of understanding who we are and our own identity to thinking about how we interact and interrelate with others and meeting others' needs, loosely speaking. Within the material that we interrogate through this section, particularly from a theoretical perspective, I want us to think about how narrative and discourse informs cultural fields, those places that we inhabit, our habitus, as it would be, but how we interrelate with others, how we either employ what's commonly known as an unconscious bias. By unconscious bias, just thinking whatever it is I do is common sense, is right. It contains the cultural mores of the discourse that I live in, as opposed to the other who's different from me, and how sometimes there's a binary opposition, a binary two things. An unconscious bias, I won't get too deep into this because we've got plenty of time to do that through the material, but an unconscious bias says the stuff I do is right, common sense, and it just is. The stuff you're doing over there isn't like me, so it's got to be weird. It's not right. Right and wrong, That's a binary. But when we talk about conscious and unconscious bias can lead into things like sexism, because I'm a man and this is the way I do things, and it's a patriarchal society. The way that you as a female may do things is different. That unconscious bias, without me actually thinking about where it comes from, about how that cultural construct is created, makes me think in terms of sexism. Unconscious bias based on gender. Unconscious bias based on racism. So we've got to be very careful with those words that we use in there. Unconscious bias is the blind accepting of what we do as normal and right and common sense, whereas what the other does is therefore wrong, not right. Based on racial lines, that comes out in that term of racism. Now, just be aware that even though at times we might display these characteristics of unconscious bias in relation to race, it doesn't quite make us a racist. So I'm not saying that right from the start. But be aware that the characteristics and the attitudes and the practices that we display that are informed by our cultural constructs can play out in a way that can be conceived as sexist, racist. So those are the sort of really difficult strands we're going to be pulling out a wee bit this week, interrogating that term of unconscious bias and of binary oppositions. We're going to be looking at the idea of the golden rule. You guys know the golden, wee bit of a spoiler alert here. The golden rule says, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. However, I've been told there's this thing called the platinum rule. Do unto others as they would want done to them. We'll unpack what that means later on. There's a big one in there. So, welcome back. Some difficult things we're going to talk about this week. But in doing that, we'll be looking at how we construct our own cultural fields, how we live within those, how we understand others, how they can negatively impact upon relationships. But if we're thinking about that whole idea of meeting people's needs, of social responsibility, then how do we actually work to combining my cultural habitus and that of others into something together that works, that isn't an ism. So guys, looking forward to the conversations this week. Looking forward to unpacking some of this difficult stuff, but also looking forward to providing some sort of set of tools or solutions that can help you through this ism minefield. So take care. Talk to you soon. Go through the material. Get back onto me if you have any questions. Enjoying what we're doing.